Part 1. The ritual of opening the gate. Imagine a moment when your mind is no longer bound by the noise of life and begins to drift into a layer of stillness, soft as early morning mist. In that space between waking and dreaming, you feel a small stream of light moving through you, quiet, yet strong enough to stir the deepest part of your inner memory. Not the memory of the past, but the memory of who you were before life touched you. A place where you carry no worry and no weight from the long day, only a pure presence, as if walking on a bridge made not of stone but of gentle light, a bridge that does not take you outward but leads you back within. In a world where life feels crowded and responsibilities press upon your shoulders, there remains a truth beyond time, a truth that says your soul has never lost its purity. It has only been covered by the dust of a homesickness you have not yet named. The words that come to you now are not here for you to simply hear, but to remind you of what you have carried since the beginning. They are not here to persuade, but to awaken, not to explain, but to open. They do not arrive to add another burden of knowledge, but to release the tired layers you have worn for too long. And when you listen with your whole breath, these words do not stay in your mind, but seep into the deepest part within. Imagine a door existing in the invisible space, neither closed nor open, simply waiting for you to recognize that you have been standing at its threshold for a very long time. Every story, every wound, every rise and fall you have walked through has brought you to this moment. There has been no wrong turn and no delay. Every path has led you to where you stand now. And when you place your hand upon that door, you do not knock. You simply remember. And in remembering, the door gently opens. Some words are not written to be examined with logic. They are sent to awaken the stillness in your heart where your true power has been sleeping. And when you hear them with your soul, you step into a realm of light, not to escape life, but to see life clearly. From here, every step you take is no longer a reaction born of fear, but the natural movement of a mind that has returned to its original breath. Part 2. The secret language of the universe. Let your mind settle like a lake after the wind. When the scattered thoughts no longer collide, you begin to see that this world is never silent. It always speaks in a language we were never taught in school, a language without sound, yet echoing through the deepest chambers of the soul, a language that uses no letters and no sentences, but uses the appearance of small and seemingly random moments in your day, like when you see a repeating number, when an image returns again and again in your mind, when a stranger says exactly what you need to hear, or when an event happens at the precise moment you stand on the edge of hesitation. No one explains these things to you, but inside you a quiet knowing nods as if it has been waiting for these signs for a long time. In the rush of daily life, you may see everything as a chain of continuing chaos. But if you step back for just one breath, you will notice the subtle order the universe maintains beneath the surface of confusion. Your experiences are not fragments scattered without meaning. They are characters in the ancient alphabet of a scripture you once knew in another lifetime. The universe does not throw signs into your life and abandon you to guess. It speaks clearly, but only through channels that noisy minds cannot hear. Imagine standing before an ancient temple buried beneath the sands of time. Inside there are no spoken words, only carvings, symbols, spirals, and strange markings. The hurried passerby sees nothing but stone and dust, but the one who knows how to look finds a map leading to awakening. Your life is carved with signs just like this: the people you meet, the unexpected trips, the days when your plans shift without warning, the moments your heart tightens at a sentence you overhear. Each of these carries a message. Each is a character. Each is an invitation. Yet there is a difficult truth. To understand this language, you must soften the inner voice of the ego, not the voice of the soul, but the voice that demands answers now, proof now, explanations now. The universe does not hand truth to impatience. It gives truth only to those who pause and listen with the depth of their perception, because the language of the universe does not arise from the outside. It echoes from within, where intuition is the teacher and stillness is the guide. To understand this language, you do not need to become wise. You only need to become sensitive. When you are sensitive, you see that the pieces are not tangled but fit together gently. You see that every person you have met, even for a moment, leaves a piece of a message within you. You see that the obstacles you recently faced did not come to block your path, but to guide you back to a direction you had forgotten. You see that even the repetition of challenges carries, meaning as if the universe patiently says, "Look again, the message is here." There is one important truth. The language of the universe never punishes. It only responds. It does not blame. It reflects. It does not force. It invites. If you live in fear, the signs will speak through situations that bring you face to face with that fear, not to make you suffer, but to show you what needs healing. If you live in gratitude, the signs will appear as unexpected gifts, leading you to opportunities you never imagined. Every signal carries the same purpose, to bring you back to the awareness that you are worthy, that you are guided, that you are never lost. Notice the times you see repeating numbers like 33, 3, 11, 11, 2, 2, 2. Notice the recurring dreams. Notice the moments when you unexpectedly cross paths with someone from your past. These events are not random. They are gentle knocks on the door you opened in part 1. They are signals showing that the universe is responding now that you have begun to listen. Sometimes this language arrives not softly but through challenges. There are days when everything seems to work against you, but if you look deeper, you will see that those days are not meaningless chaos. They are the opening chapter of a lesson you need to rise in awareness. The one who knows how to read the signs does not ask, "Why is this happening to me?" but ask, "What is this here to teach me?" And if you look back on your life, you will notice something remarkable. Every significant event was preceded by a small sign you ignored at the time. A meeting, an intuition, a coincidence, a dream, a passing sentence. Someone said none of these were accidents. They were the letters of the universe, and when combined, they wrote the story of your life. Now that you have listened this far, I want to ask you something. In the past week, has a sign appeared again and again in your life that you have not paid attention to? A number, a dream, a person, a story, or a feeling that keeps returning? If there is one, let yourself recall it now. Thank you for being here, for listening, for allowing yourself to read the language your soul has known for a very long time. Part 3. The law of the flow of energy. Let your breath move in a slower rhythm, as if you are stepping down into the quiet chamber of your inner world. When you sit still, you will feel a gentle current moving through your entire being. Not a stream of water and not a breeze, but a stream of energy. It is not loud, yet stronger than any force you have ever known. Whether you notice it or not, this energy is always in motion. Every thought you create, every emotion you nurture, every word you release enters this stream and begins its journey back to you in a matching form. This is the law of the flow of energy, one of the most subtle and most balanced laws of the universe. Remember the moments when you were angry. Even long after the anger has faded, you still feel the heaviness lingering inside you. It is like carrying an invisible stone for hours and sometimes days. This happens because the energy of anger does not disappear when you stop shouting or suppress the feeling. It only changes shape and hides within you, waiting for the right moment to return. Sometimes it returns through a repeated argument, sometimes through a new frustrating situation, sometimes through a heaviness with no clear cause. Every energy you send out travels in a wide arc and returns to you. There is no exception. Now remember a very different moment, a time when you helped someone without expecting anything, or when you offered a kind word without calculation. Afterward, you felt a strange calmness, as if a soft light were placed gently over your heart. Then, days later, something good happened to you by chance. An opportunity, a friend, a blessing, or simply a morning when life felt lighter. This too is energy returning, but this time carrying the generosity of your heart. The law of energy is impartial. It does not punish. It does not reward. It does not keep score the way humans do. It simply responds in the most original form. What you send is what you receive in the same frequency. If you send anxiety into the flow, you will find life repeatedly sending you situations that mirror that anxiety. If you send gratitude, life will send you more reasons to be grateful. Energy does not lie, and it does not take detours. It moves straight and comes straight back to the one who created it. Some people say their lives keep repeating the same tragedies. They change cities, change jobs, change partners, yet they meet the same failures and familiar wounds. But if you look deeper, you will see that it is not life repeating, but energy repeating. When the source stays the same, the returning wave stays the same. The external situation is only the shape. The energy is the root. The law of energy moves like a river. If you resist it with rigidity, you become exhausted. But if you allow yourself to flow with awareness, life becomes lighter. This river never tries to push you down. It simply reflects you. When you are clear, the water is clear. When you are clouded, the water is clouded. When you are calm, the water is still. When you are chaotic, the water swirls. The movement always begins from within. Many believe they can hide their energy behind an appearance, but energy does not care about the masks humans build. You can smile, but if fear fills your heart, you still emit the vibration of fear. You can speak loving words, but if anger lives inside you, the vibration of anger still radiates. The universe does not hear your words. It hears your energy. That is the true voice of the soul. When you walk into a room, others sense your field even before you speak. They sense whether you are trustworthy or distant. You also sense others the same way. This happens because energy always arrives before form. It arrives before the eyes, before the words, before any action. It is the first card you present to the world. To master this law, you do not need to force yourself to be joyful when you are sad or pretend to be strong when you are confused. The only thing you need is awareness. Awareness of what you are placing into the stream. When you are aware, you can adjust, you can pause, you can shift direction, you can take a new breath and release the old. No one can do this for you, but once you do, the flow changes instantly, not tomorrow, not next month, but in the very moment of awareness. When negative emotions appear, you can let them pass without letting them rule you. When old beliefs return, you can look at them as a familiar stranger. When fear arises, you can observe it like watching the rain, knowing it comes and it goes. Each of these choices adds a new form of energy into the stream. There is a truth few recognize. You do not need to be perfect to create a powerful shift in your energy. You only need honesty. Honesty with your emotions. Honesty with what you send into the universal river. Honesty with what you choose to nurture in your heart. Energy does not ask you to pretend to be light. It only asks you to face your darkness and decide what to do with it. Now, before we close this part, I invite you to pause and ask yourself this. In the past week, what energy have you been sending into your life? The energy of tension or of peace, of fear or of hope, of lack or of gratitude? Share your reflection in the comments with a simple message. You may write, "I am ready to change," or simply write the number 1, so I know you are here, you are present, and you are transforming yourself. Thank you for listening. Part 4. The mirror of reality. When you sit still long enough, you begin to sense that the outer world is not truly separate from the inner one. Everything you see, every situation you walk through, every person who appears in your path is not random. They are reflections on a mirror not hanging before you, but woven into the life you are living. It reflects every thought, every emotion, every hidden belief you carry, even the ones you do not know are there. You may have wondered why you keep meeting the same kind of person, the same kind of difficulty, the same kind of mistake. You might think it is fate or some harsh lesson life forces upon you. But the truth is much gentler. Life does not repeat to hurt you. Life repeats to help you see. And when you look with awareness, you realize you are not trapped in a cycle of tragedy. You are being guided back to a place that needs healing. Imagine standing before a great mirror. You cannot demand the reflection to smile when you are frowning. You cannot expect it to glow with confidence when inside you feel chaotic. Life works with the same simple principle. It does not respond to the desires you speak with your mouth, but to the beliefs you hold in your heart. If you hold the feeling of lack, you will meet situations that deepen that sense of lack. If you hold doubt, you will meet experiences that confirm your doubt. If you hold gratitude, you will see life opening doors that give you more to be grateful for. Some say they do not believe in the invisible. They believe only in what the eyes can see. But human eyes are made to see form, not cause. Form is only the surface. The cause lives deeper, where energy and awareness shape reality. And reality will always reflect that deeper layer. You cannot hide your vibration from life. Even if you wear a beautiful outfit or speak kind words or try to cover your sadness with a smile, the true energy inside you is the signal the universe responds to. When you understand this, you begin to see something extraordinary. Life is not a fierce opponent standing in front of you. It is a neutral mirror standing beside you, patiently showing you what you are sending into it. If you feel lost, the mirror reflects situations that reveal that sense of being lost, not to sink you deeper, but to help you see it and step out of it. If you feel strong, the mirror reflects opportunities for you to use that strength. Life always brings you what you are ready to recognize. Many try to change their lives by changing their surroundings or their partners or their jobs. But when they arrive in the new place, they meet another version of the same issue, not because the world is against them, but because the mirror is showing the same reflection. Changing the surface does not change the reflection. Only changing within does. This is why those who understand this law always return to a simple and powerful question: what am I sending out that life is reflecting back? Remember a moment when life felt bright. Perhaps a morning when you woke up and everything simply felt right. Nothing special happened, yet your heart was light. And throughout the day you met kind people, heard uplifting stories, received pleasant surprises. This was not luck, it was the mirror, reflecting the clarity you carried. And on other days, even a small thing irritates you and the whole day seems filled with heaviness. This too is the mirror, reflecting the layer of energy you were holding. When you understand how the mirror works, you no longer see yourself as a victim of life. You become a creator. You stop chasing the reflection, and instead you change yourself first, and the mirror shifts. You stop trying to control the outer world, and you reshape it by tidying the inner space. A small shift in belief, a small shift in how you see yourself, a small act of kindness toward your own heart can create a completely new reflection. The mirror of reality never lies. It never reflects something that does not exist within you. Perhaps you resist believing certain things or resist admitting you still carry old beliefs that hurt you. But when you are willing to look at the reflection, you step into the true journey of freedom. Because when you see the root, you have the power to change it. But when you do not see it, you only repeat the same silent loops. Before we close this part, I invite you to pause and observe the mirror of your own life. What has been reflecting most? In recent days, peace or restlessness, generosity or doubt, hope or exhaustion? Leave a small signal in the comments, so I know you are here. You may write, "I am ready to change," or simply write the number 1, "Thank you for listening with the depth of your soul." Part 5, the power of thought. There are moments in life when you feel that thoughts are only clouds drifting across your mind, coming and going, leaving nothing behind except a slight heaviness on a tired afternoon. But the truth is not that simple. Every thought you create, whether fleeting or lingering, never disappears into nothingness. It falls like a seed into the soil of the subconscious, and there it continues to grow, quietly taking root in the reality of your future. This is why thought is not merely an activity of the mind. Thought is the power of the Creator. Remember a goal you once achieved, whether small or large. Before it became real, you imagined it. You saw it in your mind. You pictured the moment it would unfold. At that time, you had no evidence and no data, yet the image in your mind was clear, as if you had already touched it. This is how thought carves the path. It opens possibilities before reality has a chance to shape itself. And when you repeat that image enough times, you unconsciously adjust your actions, emotions, and habits to match the vision in your mind. Thought goes first, form follows. Those who understand this power do not let their minds wander in chaos. They do not feed random thoughts. They do not let fear dictate the stories inside them. They know each thought is an arrow shot into the future. An arrow released from clarity reaches its target. An arrow released from confusion gets lost in the dark and returns, causing trouble. An arrow released from anxiety creates a reality that strengthens that anxiety. Thought is the forge where you hold the hammer shaping your destiny. Yet many people use that hammer to carve conclusions that wound themselves. They think they are not good enough, and reality brings situations that confirm that belief. They think life is difficult, and they keep walking into rough paths. They think no one understands them, and they attract those who cannot touch their soul, not because life wants them to suffer, but because thought is a signal that calls back what shares the same frequency. Imagine your mind as a lamp shining in the dark. Thought is the light from that lamp. When you shine it on something, that thing becomes clearer, stronger, closer. If you shine it on what you fear, those things grow in your eyes. If you shine it on what you are grateful for, they glow brighter. If you shine it on who you want to become, the path begins to appear step by step. What you focus on expands, what you neglect fades. Thought is the light that decides what will exist in your life. But the power of thought does not lie in the thoughts you have once in a day, when you are inspired. It lies in the thoughts repeated 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. The subconscious does not care which thought is right or wrong. It only records what is repeated as truth. If you keep telling yourself you are unworthy, the subconscious treats it as a command and shapes reality to make you believe it. If you repeat that you are valuable, that you are changing, that you are becoming stronger, the subconscious opens new paths to prove your words. Thought can bend reality not because it is magical, but because it is the template the soul uses to shape life. If you hold a clear inner map, opportunities, people, and situations begin to appear as if drawn toward you by an invisible pull. But if you hold a blurry map, reality becomes blurry, not from lack of luck, but from lack of direction in your thoughts. When you understand how powerful thought is, you start to observe the way you speak to yourself each day. You begin to see the stories you repeat in your mind are not harmless. They are the drafts of your future. You begin to choose thoughts that lift you instead of diminishing you. You use imagination not to build fearful scenarios, but to create images that are beautiful, strong, and true to who you are becoming. The power of thought does not require you to be someone who is always positive or always cheerful. That is unrealistic and unnecessary. What matters is that you become someone who is aware of their thoughts. You observe them. You recognize them. You choose them. You do not let them operate in the dark. When you clearly see your thoughts, they no longer control you from behind. You become the one leading. Thought is like the pedal of a machine. If you press it with fear, you rush into a dead end. If you press it with clarity, the machine carries you to open roads. If you want to change your destination, you do not fix the road. You simply change the direction of your thoughts. This power does not come from the outside. It comes from the deepest part within you. And when you know how to use it, you stop fearing reality. You know everything begins with you. Reality is not a prison. It is a mirror of the thoughts you are carrying. Change your thoughts and you change your entire life. Part 6. The secret of stillness. There are moments when you believe life runs only on noise, the sound of traffic, the sound of work, the sound of unfinished conversations, the sound of plans undone, the sound of worries chasing you from day to day. Yet even if all those sounds disappear, you can still hear something moving inside you, a rhythm very small and very soft and very slow, as if your soul is breathing through its own light. That is stillness. And stillness is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of every truth you have lost along the way. Stillness does not arrive to help you avoid reality. It arrives to help you see reality more clearly. When you are chasing noise, you never see what lies beneath the surface of things. You see only the ripples on the water, but not the bottom. Stillness is the moment the water becomes calm, so you can see what has been sleeping below. It may be a pain unhealed, a forgotten dream, an outdated belief, or a strength you never knew you had. Many fear stillness. They fear facing themselves in a space with no distraction. They fear facing questions no one can answer for them. But because of this fear, they never touch the deepest part of their soul. Stillness is the only doorway to where true wisdom resides. Not the wisdom learned from books and not the wisdom gathered from experience, but the primal wisdom of where you were before you stepped into this life. Imagine sitting in a room with only a gentle light falling through a narrow gap in the door. No voices, no clock, no hurried breath of life. At first you feel unfamiliar. Then slowly your body settles, your heart slows, your breath deepens, and you begin to hear things you have never heard. Not sounds from outside, but the voice of your own consciousness. From there you understand that stillness is not emptiness. It is a return. In stillness you realize you do not need to force answers. You do not need to push yourself to understand. You do not need to chase scattered advice. When you truly settle, the answers come on their own. Not through words, but through a feeling of knowing. Knowing without thinking. Understanding without reasoning. A gentle clarity like a soft light appearing in the dark. That is true guidance. Stillness has a strange power. It does not try to heal you, but opens space for you to heal yourself. It does not remove pain, but reveals the truth of that pain, so you no longer fear it. It does not erase old memories, but helps you see them with softness instead of ache. In stillness, you no longer run from what scares you. You stand and watch it fade like darkness disappearing when light arrives. Many think stillness is a technique, but stillness is not a technique. It is the natural state of the soul. You do not learn to create it. You learn to return to it. You do not train to own it. You simply open the path for it to enter. Stillness does not come from effort, but from release. Not from striving, but from allowing. When you allow your soul to rest, stillness enters, like an old friend returning after many years. Stillness is also where you test your true strength. When there is no noise to lean on, you see clearly what you truly feel, what you pretend to be strong about, what you suppress, what you reject. You begin to see yourself with such honesty that sometimes tears fall, not from pain, but from seeing yourself for the first time in a long time without masks and without roles. When you grow familiar with stillness, you discover something beautiful. Every outer chaos is only the echo of inner chaos. And when the inside becomes calm, the outside gradually follows, not because the world has changed, but because you have changed the way you see it. Stillness softens resistance, quiets fear, eases expectations, and rekindles the dreams you thought had gone out. You will see that your most wise decisions never appeared in panic. They always came in moments when your heart was quiet. Your best ideas never came in tension. They came when you let go. The words you most needed never arrived when you searched for them. They came when you stopped searching. Stillness is where everything matures. And when stillness becomes your companion, you no longer feel swept away by life. You move with a different rhythm. The rhythm of someone who has found refuge within themselves. The rhythm of someone who does not need the world to be quiet in order to be at peace. The rhythm of someone who knows the most important answers live in the space between two breaths. The secret of stillness is that it adds nothing to your life. It only takes away what does not belong to you. It gives back your sense of presence. It gives back your clarity. It gives back the original softness of your heart that you lost while chasing the things you once believed mattered. Part 7. The law of duality and balance There are days when you feel pulled in two directions, as if two currents inside you are moving at the same time, one bright, one dark, one hopeful, one doubtful, one pushing you forward, one holding you back. You may think life is splitting you into two opposite halves, but this is the natural fabric of the universe. Everything exists as a pair. Every experience you have is the meeting of two poles of the same essence. There is no light without darkness, no peace without chaos, no beginning without ending, and no growth without breaking. Duality is not a flaw. Duality is the structure that forms human awareness. Imagine a seed beneath the soil, surrounded by darkness, stillness, and the weight of earth. If you look with human eyes, you may think the darkness is stopping the seed from living, but it is within the darkness that the seed cracks open, forms its first sprout, and begins its journey toward light. Without this hidden stage, there would never be a tree rising upward. Darkness is not the enemy of light. It is the condition in which light is born. Just as failure is not the enemy of success, it is the foundation that teaches you how to stand. The problem for humans is not that they have a dark side. The problem is they resist it. They want life to be smooth. They want the path to be clear. They want to feel only pleasant emotions. But when you try to remove one pole, the other becomes distorted. You run from fear, and by running you make fear even larger. You reject sadness, and rejection turns sadness into weight. You push away difficulty, and difficulty returns stronger because you have never faced the lesson it carries. The law of duality does not arrive to make you suffer. It arrives to make you deep. Those who grow with the heart understand that no darkness within them is meaningless. Pain helps them see what they once ignored. Loss helps them appreciate. Breaking helps them open. The layers of experience that look opposite are actually two halves of the same symphony, creating the breadth and depth of the soul. But the most important point of duality is this: you do not have to be trapped at either pole. You can stand in the center. The one who stands in the center does not deny darkness and does not cling to light. They understand both poles have purpose in the journey. When you stand in the center, you are not taken by extremes. You do not sink into despair, and you do not float blindly in hope. You see with calm clarity. You understand that darkness is simply a signal that something needs healing, and light is simply a sign that you are moving in the right direction. Both exist so you can become whole. No one lives a life of endless spring. Summer fades, autumn softens, winter ends. The cycle of seasons is the law of existence, and the same cycle lives within you. There are seasons when you burn bright, seasons when you fall quiet, seasons when you move fast, seasons when you slow down. Every season holds meaning. No season is out of place. They all teach you to see life with the eyes of someone who knows, rather than someone who fears. Look at the moments you believed you were sinking into darkness, when you were misunderstood, when you failed, when something you trusted broke. In those moments you may think darkness is swallowing you, but if you look deeper you will see what is being swallowed is not your light but your old shell that has become too small. Duality works like a furnace, burning away what is not truly you so the stronger part of you can emerge. When you embrace both poles of yourself, you become someone not easily shaken. You no longer fear when darkness arrives, and you no longer become arrogant when light appears. You stand like a tree with roots strong enough not to fall, flexible enough to bend in wind, and trusting enough to know the wind will pass. That is balance. Balance is not stillness. Balance is knowing what is happening inside you and not letting it break you. The law of duality teaches you that you do not need to choose one pole to be right. You only need to choose awareness. With awareness, you are not a victim of either side. With awareness, you walk between both with clarity. With awareness, you remain yourself, even when everything around you shifts rapidly. And when you understand this deeply, life no longer divides you into opposites. It gathers you back into a unified whole, a person who knows light but does not fear darkness, who knows fragility but does not fear breaking, who knows pain but does not fear opening, who knows failure but does not fear rising. That is freedom. Freedom that comes from no longer running from any part of yourself. Before we end this part, I invite you to pause and feel which pole you have been living in recently, the light or the dark, hope or doubt, openness or retreat. Share your feeling in the comments. You may write, "I am ready to change," or simply leave the number 1, so I know you are here, listening and stepping into your own balance. Thank you for your deep presence. Part 8, the veil of forgetting. From the moment you arrive in this world, an invisible veil is placed over your mind, not as punishment and not as some mystical retribution. It is simply a thin layer of mist, enough to keep you from remembering fully who you are, yet enough to push you to search. That is what turns life into a journey. If you carried every memory from the unseen realm into the visible world, you would have no reason to explore, to grow, to choose, to love, to fall and rise again. This veil is the challenge every soul accepts before entering human life. There are times when life feels like a maze. You walk into dead ends, you lose direction, you get caught in roles you never chose. You wonder why everything feels so unclear. But the uncertainty is not here to punish you. It is here to teach you to look deeper into yourself. Because when you no longer remember who you are, you must learn again. Learn to love with your heart rather than memory. Learn to trust the unseen before your eyes can see it. Learn to rise by the strength inside you rather than the past that once held you. A child sees the world with sparkling eyes. Everything is a wonder. Everything is new. The child sees beauty adults have forgotten. The veil has not yet grown thick. The child still remembers a little of the vastness beyond the doorway. The child still feels the invisible connection. Adults forget. But as we grow, we put on layers of dust, assumptions, teachings, fears, expectations. The veil thickens, the sparkling eyes fade. Then at some point, something inside you begins to awaken, a feeling familiar yet nameless, a subtle vibration like someone placing a hand on your heart, reminding you that you were not born to drift through life unconsciously. You were born to remember that your soul has flown farther, shone brighter, and loved deeper than you ever imagined. To remember you are not the name you were given, not the role you play, not the failures that made you think you were weak. You are the deepest part that the veil tries to hide, so you can learn to find it again. The veil of forgetting is not an enemy. It is a ritual, like a blacksmith placing metal into fire to form a blade, like a teacher guiding a student into challenge so the student discovers their strength. You are not abandoned. You are in a process through which you become strong enough, bright enough, awake enough to understand truths you could not grasp before. There are moments when the veil becomes thin, moments when you look at the sky and feel your heart expand as if you once lived there, moments when you meet a stranger yet feel you have known them forever, moments when you dream of a place you have never been, yet in the dream you belong to it. These moments are cracks in the veil. They are not meaningless. They are gentle reminders that behind ordinary life lies a truth larger and more luminous than you think. But the most beautiful part is this: the veil can never cover your heart. Even if your memory forgets, your soul does not. It continues to guide you through feelings, through intuition, through sudden impulses that make you change direction, leave the old, step into the new. You may think it is coincidence, but it is not. It is the guidance of the deepest part within you, the part that never sleeps, the part that has known the way home for a long time. You do not need to tear the veil apart. You simply learn to walk through it piece by piece. Each time you enter silence, the veil thins. Each time you are honest with emotions you once hid, the veil opens another line. Each time you choose love over fear, truth over avoidance, listening over running, more light enters. One day you will realize you never truly lost your memory. It was only sleeping, and you are the one who awakens it. You will remember how vast you are, how strong you are, how clear you are, you will understand why life brought you through difficult passages. Not to break you, but to make you search for yourself. And when you find yourself, you find the source of life, the one you have carried since the moment you arrived here. Part 9, the resonance of your living frequency. There is a quiet power within you that even you may not realize you carry. It is not muscle, not intellect, not the kind of intelligence people usually measure. It is the frequency you emit, an unseen vibration that shapes your entire life. If you have ever walked into a room and felt the air grow heavy, even when no one said a word, that is frequency. If you have ever met a stranger whose single glance made you feel safe, that too is frequency. Frequency is not spoken language, it is the language of the soul. What you experience each day does not come only from your actions or choices, but from the energy you hold in every moment. You may say you want peace, but if your heart is filled with worry, your frequency still broadcasts that unrest. You may say you want love, but if your heart still carries fear and guardedness, that vibration creates distance. You may pray for happiness, but if deep inside you still believe you are undeserving, the universe responds to what you believe, not what you say. There are mornings when you wake feeling heavy for no clear reason. You think it is a restless night, but sometimes it is the lingering vibration you carried from the day before. Unresolved thoughts, floating worries, memories you have not faced. All of them create a silent echo in your energy field. Every person emits such vibrations whether they know it or not. And here is a truth many overlook. Life does not respond to your words, it responds to your frequency. Look at the days when you feel light, when you are not trying too hard, not holding too tightly, not expecting too much. You simply breathe, simply live, simply exist. On those days, everything seems to flow more easily. You meet the right people at the right moment. A small opportunity opens. A greeting becomes a connection. A blessing appears without planning. These moments are not random. That is when your frequency is bright and spacious and aligned with the rhythm of the universe. There are also days when a quiet fear inside you begins to ripple outward and unwanted events appear. Conversations become tense, small issues feel heavy, people react in ways that unsettle you. You think they change, but sometimes it is only your frequency sinking, and life reflects it with perfect neutrality. No judgment, no bias, only the mirror of the moment. When you understand this, you stop blaming. You no longer ask why things happen to you. You begin asking what you are sending out. You realize your power lives inside, not outside. And when you shift within the world, adjusts without you forcing anything, that is the moment you enter the flow. Not pushing, not resisting, simply aligning. Imagine life as a wide river. If you swim against it, you grow exhausted. If you float without awareness, you lose direction. But if you adjust your breath and feel the current, you move with ease. Your frequency is that breath. It decides whether you struggle or glide, whether you feel burdened or free. Some people are not skilled with words, not expressive, not persuasive. Yet wherever they go, others feel comfort. They do little, yet their presence is enough. That is the frequency of calm. Others may be intelligent or talented, yet bring tension everywhere they appear, not by choice, but because their vibration carries unease. And some people try harder and harder to prove themselves, yet their frequency only broadcasts lack, which pushes success farther away. But the beautiful truth is that frequency is not fixed. It is not something you are born with. It is something you can tune each day through your breath, through honesty with yourself, through calmness when suppressed emotions surface, through releasing stories that no longer match who you are. When you change your frequency, you change your life. In your lowest moments, if you place your hand over your chest and breathe deeply, you will feel a gentle vibration inside. That is your original frequency, not the frequency of fear, not the frequency of past wounds. It is the vibration of your soul before life covered it with dust. When you return to that rhythm, doors that have been closed begin to open again. Now I want to ask you something and answer it honestly within yourself. In these recent days, which frequency have you carried more often? The frequency of fear or the frequency of peace? Are you letting the past shape the vibration of your present? Are you carrying old stories that make life respond in ways you do not want? Your answer will be the key that opens the next part of this journey. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for not abandoning yourself. Part 10. The silence that opens the inner door. There are moments in life when you have spoken so much, tried so much, explained so much, yet nothing changes. The more you speak, the more tangled your mind becomes. The more you try, the more exhausted your heart feels. The more you analyze, the deeper you wander into a maze with no exit. This is the sign that you are standing before one of the most important lessons life wants to offer. The lesson of silence, not the silence of avoidance or suppression, but the silence of wisdom, of awareness, of the inner door preparing to open. The ancients said that only when the lake is still can you see the bottom. If the lake is full of waves, no matter how clear the water is, you cannot see what lies below. The human inner world is the same. When the noise inside is too loud, every truth becomes distorted. Every time you chase chaotic thoughts, you step further away from yourself. Yet the moment you stop, the moment you sit in stillness for just a few minutes, you begin to hear another layer of voice, not the voice of the fearful ego, but the quiet voice behind all noise. That voice is sleeping wisdom. Have you noticed that the most important answers rarely appear when you are desperately looking for them? They appear when you are not trying at all, when you are showering, when you are walking quietly, when you are looking at the sky, when you are simply breathing with no intention. This is not coincidence. It is the moment your mind slows enough for the inner door to open, and when that door opens, the things you thought you did not know become the first things to return. Silence is not escaping the world. It is the way you return to see the world clearly. In silence, you stop reacting. You stop being pulled by emotions like a leaf in the wind. You begin to distinguish what is false fear, echoing from old memories, and what is the truth your soul is pointing to. The right choices are never born in panic. They are born in silence. Clarity never grows in the noise of ego. It grows in the quiet place you often forget. When you sit still, you begin to see that there is a part of you always calm. No matter how chaotic life becomes, a part of you that does not panic, does not judge, does not rush, does not run. That part is like a softly lit room. You rarely enter. You spend your life wandering dark hallways, while the door to that bright room stands open. Silence is how you walk back into it. Some say they fear silence because silence forces them to face themselves. But that is the greatest blessing. Only when you face yourself do you know what truly needs healing. And when you heal in silence, the outer world transforms, not because circumstances change, but because you changed. You stop seeing life through old fears and start seeing it through clearer, wider eyes. When you learn the art of silence, you also learn the art of listening. Not listening to argue and not listening to reply, but listening to understand. Listening to the whisper of life, listening to the small signs you once ignored because your mind was too loud, listening to yourself, especially the parts you have suppressed for years. Silence allows you to hear the truth that life never speaks in words. It speaks in intuition, in sensation, in a quiet knowing. You cannot explain but cannot deny. And in this silence you realize something you may have never considered. It is not you who is searching for the answer. It is the answer searching for you. But for it to find you, you must be still. If your mind runs too fast, if your heart is too troubled, if your thoughts are too loud, the answer stands right there, yet you cannot see it, like a messenger knocking on your door, while your music is turned too loud to hear. Silence does not require you to withdraw from the world. You do not need a forest, a cave, or a life without responsibility. You only need to learn to be silent within your ordinary days, 1 minute in the middle of busyness, 3 breaths in the middle of worry, 1 moment of closing your eyes in the middle of fatigue, 1 brief pause before reacting out of old habit. These small pauses are the true keys that open the inner door. And when that door opens, you will experience something strange. The things you once thought you had to fight become lighter. The things you thought you had to chase come to you naturally. The things you once feared become easier to understand, not because anything changed outside, but because you finally see with the eyes of stillness. This is the silence that opens, a ritual no one teaches, yet life constantly reminds you of. And today, in this very moment, life is reminding you once more, you have listened to noise for too long. Now it is time to listen to silence. Part 11. Outer signals are echoes of the inner world. There are days when you step outside and suddenly notice that every meeting, every event, every passing glance carries a layer of meaning you never paid attention to before. You think it is coincidence. You think you are simply moving through life while life moves on its own. But as your awareness grows, you begin to see that nothing is merely accidental. Everything you encounter is a mirror reflecting a part of you in that moment. If your heart is heavy, life sends signals that make you more uncomfortable, not to punish you, but to show you the wound inside. If your heart is clear, life responds with open doors, light encounters, and opportunities that arrive in perfect rhythm. The outer world never goes ahead of you. It always follows. It is the result, not the cause. It is the echo, not the original voice. Like when you call out in a valley, the first sound is yours and the second sound is the world. When you change the tone of the first sound, the echo automatically changes. Life works the same way. Everything you meet outside is simply the vibration of what you have already sent out in silence. This seems simple, yet it can change everything about how you live once you truly understand it. The moment you realize the outer world is only an echo, you stop seeking answers from others. You stop bending yourself to please someone just to feel a little peace. You stop chasing closed doors. Because you understand a closed door does not mean you are unworthy. It simply means your current frequency does not match what you are asking for. When you shift your frequency, the door changes color. What you thought was failure is only rearrangement. Look at the moments when your life shifted. Sometimes a small reminder from a stranger changed your entire perspective. Sometimes a minor failure turned you away at the perfect time, saving you from a greater fall. Sometimes someone left you and you felt as if everything collapsed, but later you saw that their departure opened a path you would never have seen if they had stayed. Every signal has a reason, but the reason only reveals itself when you are quiet enough to see. Have you noticed that life speaks through repetition? The same situation but with a different person, the same emotion but in a new context. A pattern you thought you had escaped, returning the moment you thought you were fine. This is not because you are weak. It is because life is checking whether you have truly learned the lesson. When the lesson has sunk in, the repetition stops. Life never tests you without purpose. It only brings you what you need to become, who you are meant to be. Some signals appear in your lowest moments, when everything seems to fall apart, when you feel there is nothing left to hold on to. Life brings a small sign to lift you up. It may be a passing sentence, an image you catch in an instant, a moment of peace in the middle of exhaustion. These signals do not come randomly. They come because there is a part of you that has never surrendered. That part sends the first signal, and life simply responds. The miracle is that when you change your perspective, you change how life communicates with you. When you no longer see yourself as a victim, the signals no longer carry the weight of hopelessness. When you begin to see difficulties as messages, the signals soften and become easier to read. When you live with gratitude instead of complaint, the signals turn into open doors. Life is not trying to make things hard for you. It simply speaks the language of your inner state. As your inner state changes, that language changes. And here you understand something deeper. You are not the one searching for signals. You are the one creating them. Every thought, every belief, every fear, every beam of light inside you emits waves that shape how life speaks to you. When you are full of inner conflict, life speaks in chaos. When you are calm, life speaks in alignment. When you are bright, life speaks in paths opening. Eventually, there comes a day when you no longer ask why something is happening to you. Instead, you ask what it is reflecting within you. And that is the moment you step into a new level of maturity. No more confusion, no more resistance, no more feeling defeated by life. You realize you are in conversation with yourself through your experiences. This is a depth not everyone dares to enter. But once you enter, you cannot return to who you were before. Before we move to the next part, I want to ask you something. Answer quietly in your heart. In these recent days, has there been a signal life keeps sending that you see repeating? Is there something you have avoided facing, even though it has appeared many times? And are you ready to look at it with the eyes of someone who understands that everything outside is only a reflection inside? If you are ready, leave a comment with the words, "I am ready to change," or simply the number 1 to mark your presence on this journey. Thank you for listening with your whole heart. Part 12. The subtle law of exchange. Deep within life, there is a law that operates quietly yet with such precision that no one can escape it. It is not a law created by humans, not a law of society, institutions, or morality. It is the law the universe imprinted into the structure of existence itself, the law of exchange, a rhythm so subtle that the unaware think it is random, yet those who see deeply recognize it more clearly than daylight. Everything you receive reflects what you give. Everything you give returns to you in the same essence it carried. People often misunderstand this law. Many believe that giving means losing, that yielding means weakness, that kindness without return means foolishness. But truth does not follow the surface of things. The universe does not repay you through the person you treat well. It repays you through the balance of the flow. The one you help may not be the one who helps you, but what you give will always find its way back, never late, never lost, never to the wrong hands. Imagine life as a vast ocean. Every action, word, and thought you release is like a drop of water falling onto its surface. It creates a ripple, and that ripple travels outward before returning to the shore where you stand. If you drop kindness into the ocean, its waves return as goodness. If you drop selfishness, bitterness, or resentment, its waves return with the same tone. You cannot throw stone into water and expect silk to return. You cannot sow light and expect darkness to answer. The universe does not respond to expectations, it responds to essence. The subtle law of exchange reveals another truth. Everything you hold too tightly begins to rot. Everything you allow to flow nourishes itself. That is why those who live only to accumulate become poor within. They keep money but lose peace, keep emotions but lose connection, keep wounds but lose freedom. They do not let the flow pass through them. They try to hold water in their hands, but water cannot stay. It must move. If you do not let it flow out, it cannot flow in. And when the flow is blocked, life becomes heavy like a river clogged with silt. In moments when you give with calculation, you are not giving, you are bargaining. And the law of exchange does not respond to bargains. It responds only to sincerity. The irony is many believe they are giving when in truth they are demanding. They help someone expecting that person to follow their wishes. They give to gain attention, approval, or gratitude. They use supposed kindness as a form of control, but the universe returns only the true energy behind the act. If your intention is possessive, you receive disappointment. If your intention is unconditional love, you receive fullness in the most unexpected ways. Life has its own balance. When you give what is right, it never leaves you empty. It may not return immediately. It may not return in the way you want, but it returns in the form your soul needs at that moment. When you help someone rise, life helps you rise. When you fall, when you open a door for someone, life opens another when you need it. When you choose kindness, while others choose harm, life protects you in unseen ways you can feel but not always see. The law of exchange applies also to your inner world. If you give your mind blame, you receive heaviness. If you give your heart forgiveness, you receive peace. If you keep reminding yourself of old pain, you receive repeated experiences. If you give yourself love and respect, you receive people and opportunities that reflect it. Every exchange begins between you and you before it appears externally. There is another subtle truth. You cannot receive what you do not believe you deserve. You cannot receive love when your heart is full of doubt. You cannot receive peace when your mind feeds chaos. You cannot receive new opportunities when your hands cling to what is old. The law of exchange operates on the space you create. If you do not open room, nothing can come close. Letting go is not loss. It is an invitation for what is next. The beauty of this law is that it does not care who you are, where you come from, whether you are succeeding or struggling, young or old, wealthy or poor. It cares only about what you give. People may be biased, circumstances may be unfair, but the law of exchange is not. It works like breath. You inhale because you exhale. You receive because you give. When you understand this, you live lighter, more peaceful, more open. You stop grasping, you stop fearing lack. You trust that when your giving is aligned, life's returning is aligned. There are times you give much and receive nothing. Do not be quick to conclude the law has failed. This is simply the season of planting. The harvest never comes at the same time as the sowing. Sometimes you plant today and see results 2 years later. Sometimes you plant in silence and receive in sunlight. Sometimes you plant in one person and receive from another. Do not worry about how the universe arranges things. You only need to keep your flow from being blocked. And if you wonder why life sometimes takes so much away, remember that taking is also a form of exchange. Some things must leave so you have room for better things. Some relationships must end so you no longer stay trapped in old frequencies. Some jobs must fall away so you can see the right path. The universe never takes without giving. It simply clears the space first. The law of exchange is subtle, yet it is never silent to those who listen. It speaks clearly, it works wholly, and it opens a different life when you begin to honor its rhythm. What you give is what you live. What you sow is what you meet. What you let go of is what makes room for what is yours. Art 13. The keepers of knowledge. Since ancient times, long before humans knew how to write or record their thoughts, knowledge existed like an underground stream, flowing beneath the earth. It did not belong to any person or tribe. It was the property of the universe. Yet this knowledge was never given carelessly. It always had keepers, not as jailers, but as guardians entrusted to ensure that only those who were mature enough could receive it. The keepers of knowledge were not always great masters, not always mysterious figures or priests living in sacred temples. Sometimes they were simply elders sitting quietly on a porch, their eyes deep and still like a lake. Sometimes they were humble farmers living silent lives, while their inner understanding stretched wider than the fields they worked. Sometimes they were mothers who spoke only a few simple sentences, carrying the wisdom of generations. The universe has never chosen knowledge keepers by status. It chooses hearts that are gentle enough and humble enough to hold knowledge without corrupting it. The highest knowledge never travels with noise. It does not boast, demand admiration, or seek validation. True keepers of knowledge never speak much about it. They do not need to prove anything. They do not argue. They do not try to force understanding or belief onto others. They simply live according to the knowledge, and their lives become quiet proof that the knowledge is real. The peace in their eyes is so deep it makes the world feel silent for a moment. Keepers of knowledge have always known this. Knowledge is never dangerous. Only the ego is dangerous. When knowledge falls into a heart that is not mature, it becomes a weapon. When it falls into a soul that is not yet clear, it becomes a tool for control. Therefore, knowledge has never been free, not because it is stingy, but because the receiver must be strong enough not to harm themselves when touching it. Ancient civilizations understood this deeply. They built temples, created rituals, and formed layers of initiation not to exclude but to purify. Not everyone entered the temple, not everyone read the symbols carved into stone, not everyone passed the mental tests, but once they did, knowledge was given not to satisfy the mind, but to awaken the soul. The keepers gave only when the heart of the seeker was wide enough to hold the knowledge without turning it into illusion. In modern life, the keepers of knowledge no longer stand on mountaintops or in sanctuaries, they stand among us. They may be a simple teacher who speaks a sentence that changes your life. They may be a friend who sees what you never saw in yourself. They may be a stranger whose simple words open a door inside you as if someone handed you a missing piece your soul had waited long to receive. What is interesting is that the keepers of knowledge never call themselves keepers. They understand that all knowledge flows from one source. They are simply the ones who stand a little closer to it, and their only task is to keep the flow unpolluted by ambition, arrogance, or fear. They do not teach to be worshipped. They teach to plant seeds. They do not speak to be obeyed. They speak so others can see their own path. They do not guide with power, they guide with presence. True knowledge never overwhelms you. It quiets you. It does not make you feel superior to others. It makes you more humble. It does not make you want to show off what you know. It makes you listen more deeply. True knowledge does not bloom from the mind, but from the heart. It is not a blinding light that makes others look away. It is a warm light that makes others want to come closer. The keepers understand that knowledge only matters when it brings people back to their true self. If knowledge leads someone away from themselves, it is not knowledge, but mere information. And there is a vast difference between the two. Information fills the mind. Knowledge fills the soul. Information creates noise. Knowledge creates clarity. Information causes argument. Knowledge creates compassion. The keepers always lead you toward stillness, not toward chaos. A deeper truth is that knowledge is never transmitted through words first. It is transmitted through vibration. You may sit beside someone who says nothing yet. Feel your heart grow lighter. You may read a sentence so simple yet understanding rises within you like something you have always known. Knowledge does not teach you something new. It helps you remember something ancient. The keepers do not give you their wisdom. They activate the wisdom already sleeping in you. And the most miraculous part is this. Once you receive true knowledge, you naturally become a keeper of knowledge yourself, not to teach others, but to live in alignment with the light you have received. When you live in that light, you become a beacon in someone else's darkness. You do not need to speak much. You do not need to prove anything. By living in the truth you have realized, you become a keeper of knowledge in the great flow of humanity. Part 14. The inner temple. Long before humans built pyramids, temples, or monuments reaching toward the sky, there already existed a temple more ancient than all of them. No civilization created it, no craftsman carved it, no force can destroy it. It is built from a material that does not belong to earth or stone or anything the eyes can see. It lives inside every human being, quiet, steady, and eternal. This is the inner temple. Whenever life feels too heavy, too chaotic, too tight, it is because you have been standing outside the temple for too long. You wander in the hallways of expectations, responsibilities, fears, and roles the world asks you to carry. You walk through doors that are not yours. You enter rooms not meant for your soul. And you forget that there is a place where you are always welcomed with no conditions, no judgment, no demand. The inner temple has never closed. Only you have walked away from it. The ancients said, if you look deep enough within, you will see light. If you look outward for too long, you see only darkness. Not the darkness of the world, but the darkness of turning away from the one place that always holds truth. The inner temple is not a destination for the perfect. It is a sanctuary for the confused, the wounded, the lost. Every crack in your heart is a doorway. Every pain is an invitation. Every moment you are too tired to fight is the moment the temple quietly opens for you to step in. If you sit in stillness, you will feel something unique. a gentle warmth rising from the center of your chest. It does not come from the body. It comes from returning to yourself. The inner temple is not dazzling like fireworks. It is not loud like the knowledge you gather from the outside. It does not show its power. It is simple like breath, like morning light passing through a window, like the scent of wind before sunrise. And within this simplicity lies a strength greater than any teaching. What makes the inner temple sacred is not its mystery, but its honesty. It carries no lies about you. It does not call you weak when you fall. It does not call you ordinary when you fail. It does not call you unworthy when someone leaves you. All of those are only echoes of the world outside. Inside the temple, you are not a role, not a name, not a past, not a wound. You are simply yourself, in your purest state. You have felt this before in strange moments. When you look at the sky and feel as if you belong to something larger, when you sit alone at night and feel peace without reason, when tears fall not from pain but from a soft feeling like someone placed a hand on your shoulder to say you are never alone, those are the moments you stand in the temple without realizing it. The inner temple does not teach with words. It teaches with awareness. When you enter, you no longer need to ask why you hurt, why you lost direction, why everything is difficult. You suddenly see that life is not against you. It is clearing the path. Every time life takes something away, you think it is loss. But inside the temple, you see it is only making space. Every time you are pushed out of a door, you think it is failure. But the temple shows you it is protection from a turn that does not belong to your soul. Inside the temple, you see the world with different eyes. What once frightened you becomes small. What once felt heavy becomes light like smoke. The people who once hurt you no longer affect you the same way, not because they change, but because inside you there is more space, more height, more light. A heart that expands leaves no room for old shadows. And then you realize something important. The inner temple has never asked you to be good before entering. It is where you learn how to become good. It has never asked you to be strong before returning. It is where you reclaim your strength. It has never asked you to be perfect. It is where you see that your soul has never needed perfection to be worthy of the universe's love. The only requirement of the inner temple is honesty. Honesty with your pain, honesty with your joy, honesty with what you have not dared to admit. When you step barefoot onto the floor of the temple, you carry no masks. Every layer of pretense falls away. What remains is your true self. And that is the only version strong enough to transform your life. One day, when you walk deep enough into your inner temple, you will understand a truth so soft yet powerful it changes everything. You are not the one searching for the temple. The temple has been searching for you. It has been calling in every breath, in every night you cried, in every moment you were too tired to go on, in every small sign you thought was coincidence. It has never been far. It has only been waiting for you to remember. Part 15. The sacredness of breath. There are things in life we search for everywhere, traveling from one city to another, reading thick books, listening to hundreds of pieces of advice. Yet we fail to notice that the greatest power, the closest companion, the one force capable of bringing us back to ourselves is right here, in our chest, right now, right in this moment. It is the breath. People often believe strength comes from something grand, a prophecy, an ancient secret, a difficult quest. But the masters of old always knew this. True power does not lie in distant places. It lies in every breath. When you inhale, the universe gives you life. When you exhale, you release what no longer needs to be carried. Within this cycle is balance, rhythm, and the language of the soul. But humans forget their breath. When afraid, you hold it. When angry, it tightens. When sad, it falls heavy. When anxious, it becomes short, fast, and broken. You think emotions control breath, yet breath can also control emotion. Notice this. Just by shifting your breath even slightly, your entire inner world changes. One deep breath dissolves fear. One slow breath softens pain. One full breath opens the door to peace. Breath is the bridge between body and soul, between the visible and invisible. The ancients called it the key that opens the inner gate, the gate to wisdom, clarity, and the feeling that we are always held by a force greater than ourselves. But why is breath sacred? Because it is the first thing we receive when we enter this world and the last thing we release when we leave it. Between those 2 points lies an entire lifetime. Breath carries the memory of the soul. It carries the frequency of life. It carries the tone of everything you have survived. And it carries the power to heal what you cannot yet put into words. There are sorrows you have never shared. There are fears you do not know how to explain. There are pressures you hide in your chest until it feels like you might break. But if you stop for a moment and breathe deeply, as if opening the door of your own heart, as if telling yourself, slow down, I am still here, I can still keep going, your whole inner world softens. Breath is never in a hurry. It is patient with every version of you. It does not judge when you are weak. It does not blame when you fail. It does not leave when you are hurting. It simply stays, reminding you that no matter what happens, there is a source of strength within you that cannot be taken away. When you place your hand on your chest and feel your breath, you are touching life itself. You are touching the thing you have forgotten through years of chaos, pressure, and pretending to be fine. You do not need to be strong right now. You do not need to know every answer. You do not need a perfect plan for the future. All you need is one complete breath. Those who have walked through their darkest moments know this. Sometimes one breath is enough to pull you back from the edge of despair. One breath is enough to reveal a path you could not see before. One breath is enough to rekindle your inner light, even when the world outside is full of shadows. Breath teaches what no book can teach, that you do not have to run in panic, that you do not have to force yourself to appear strong, that life does not require you to be anyone but yourself. Breath teaches you to return to presence, return to peace, return to yourself. And one day when you look back, you will understand this truth. It was not the world that softened first. It was you, softened by your breath. And when your inner world becomes peaceful, the outer world begins to change as well. Part 16. The power of the heart's energy field. There is a force within you, quiet yet never inactive, an energy field stronger than thought, deeper than words, touching others before you even say your name. This power does not live in the mind. It lives in your heart. The ancients believed the heart to be the throne of the soul, the place where spirit resides and where the strongest energy radiates to shape reality. And today modern science is slowly confirming what the ancient masters whispered thousands of years ago. The energy field of the heart is far stronger than that of the brain. It expands around you like invisible waves, touching space, touching people, touching the situations you meet each day. You have walked into a room and instantly felt lightness or heaviness, even when no one spoke. That is your heart reacting to the energy around you and reflecting the truth of what you are carrying inside. People often try to fight life with logic. They analyze, they think, they plan, they try to control. But if the heart is closed, all these efforts are like rowing a leaking boat. No matter how hard you row, the boat still sinks. The heart is the beginning of every true transformation. When it opens, you become strong without forcing strength. When it opens, you attract good things without chasing them. When it opens, life naturally aligns around you without you needing to push anything into place. But opening the heart does not mean weakness. It does not mean being easily hurt. Opening the heart means having enough courage not to run from your true feelings, enough peace not to hate what once hurt you, enough maturity not to freeze yourself because of a few old memories. The heart's energy is strongest when you live truthfully with yourself, not hiding, not shrinking, not denying what you feel, not abandoning what you desire. The more genuine you are with your heart, the wider and stronger its energy becomes. Think back to a moment in life when you cared for someone sincerely or poured your whole heart into something. Did you notice how you felt brighter, stronger, more alive? That was not imagination. That was your heart, expanding, radiating, connecting, lifting, and shifting situations that logic alone could never shift. The problem is when people hurt, they close their hearts. When betrayed, they lock it. When wounded, they build thick walls. When disappointed, they hide it behind a forced smile. And in doing so, they lose their greatest tool. You may be intelligent, hardworking, determined, but if your heart is tightening, your energy will broadcast fear, tension, and distance. And life will mirror those signals with experiences that drain you even more. To reopen the heart, you do not need rituals, long journeys, or someone to rescue you. You only need to return to your own heartbeat in the simplest yet most powerful way. Place your hand on your chest and leave it there. Allow yourself to feel your own warmth. This action alone can awaken the blocked flow within you, because the heart responds to presence, to sincerity, to the moment you choose to listen to it. The energy of the heart never dries up. It is only covered by wounds not yet healed. Every time you forgive someone, the heart expands. Every time you forgive yourself, it brightens. Every time you dare to be authentic, a layer of your wall falls away. Every time you choose love instead of fear, the heart becomes a lantern guiding you to something better. There are people you meet in life who do not need many words, yet you feel good simply standing near them, not because they are perfect, not because they have no wounds, but because their hearts are open. They have spent years healing themselves, and that energy touches you. Their heart reminds your heart that you too carry light. A person can simply stand still and make the world softer. That is the power of the heart's energy field. And here is what you must understand most clearly. When your heart returns to an open state, life begins to change in ways you never expected. Good people appear, new opportunities appear, doors you thought would stay closed begin to open again. Not because of luck, but because your energy finally matches the goodness you were always meant to receive. Your heart is the strongest compass you will ever have. When it opens, you do not need to know the entire path. You only need to take the next step. For each step will already be lit.